Hi, I'm Pete Moranian, a technical consultant with RSA, the security division of EMC. Today I'm here to talk to you about Secure ID. Secure ID is made up of three major components, including Authentication Manager, Secure ID agents, and authenticators, also known as tokens. Authentication Manager is available in two options, software and an appliance form factor. Its main purpose is to handle authentication requests and also manage things like system administration and management, things like users, tokens, agents, reporting, and other system-related tasks such as database backups. Next, you'll see an SSL VPN, which is our example today, and we're using a Secure ID agent to protect that resource. The agent will capture credentials passed by a user and pass those to Authentication Manager to verify them. Finally, you'll see a user with a token. That token, used in combination with a user ID and PIN, are used to securely authenticate a user to a protected resource, such as an SSL VPN. So in an example where a user tries to access an SSL VPN, they'll be prompted by the agent for their credentials. The user will enter their user ID, PIN, and token code. The agent will then pass those credentials to Authentication Manager. Authentication Manager then verifies the credentials, sends a response back to the agent, and then the user is either notified whether they're allowed or denied access to that resource. Now let's get into each of these in a little bit more depth. Authentication Manager is available as server software as well as in an appliance form factor. The way we manage the solution is through a web-based interface. This allows administrators to manage things like users, tokens, agents, and other system-related tasks such as database backups. In addition, we have the ability to run reports on things like successful and failed login attempts and enforce policies such as how many failed login attempts a user gets before their account becomes locked. Now let's talk a little bit about Authentication Manager's architecture. We leverage a primary replica model for redundancy, supporting anywhere from 1 to 15 replica servers. This allows us to provide redundancy for a single site and anywhere up to a geographically dispersed environment. Second, I want to mention identity sources. Within Authentication Manager, we have a feature called native LDAP integration. That allows us to leverage existing LDAP identity sources such as Active Directory and Sun1 directory for the purposes of managing users within a Secure ID deployment. And finally, I want to mention an important component included within Authentication Manager called Credential Manager. This can be used to allow users to manage things like self-service tasks, such as PIN resets, emergency access, troubleshooting your token, and even requesting things like accounts, group memberships, and Secure ID tokens. Now let's talk about agents. Secure ID agents are a piece of software that sit out in front of a resource that you're looking to protect in the IT environment. The agent acts as a gatekeeper by challenging users for their Secure ID credentials and then passing those credentials to Authentication Manager. Agents can either be built in or installed. Examples of where we'd install an agent would be on things like server, web server, or workstation. In other cases, agents are built in through the RSA Secured program. There are over 300 applications and network devices that come out of the box ready to work with Secure ID. That means our agent technology is already built in. In cases where customers can't leverage an installed or built-in agent, we have APIs which can be leveraged to build your own agents. Once the agent's present, that resource is now protected with Secure ID, and any user trying to access that resource will be challenged for their Secure ID credentials. Now let's talk about authenticators. Secure ID authenticators are used to generate one-time passwords, which are used in combination with a user ID and PIN to securely access RSA protected resources. As you can see, there are three types of authenticators. The first is the hardware authenticator, or the traditional key fob style authenticator, which RSA is known for. Next, we have the software authenticator. This can be installed on a mobile device such as an iPhone or BlackBerry. installed as a toolbar within your web browser or directly on your workstation as a desktop token. And last but not least, we have the on-demand authenticator. The on-demand authenticator is a zero-footprint authenticator, which is requested by an end user and delivered either via text message or email. Any one of these authenticator types can be used to authenticate to a protected resource. As we discussed, there are three main components to the security solution: Authentication Manager, a security agent, and the token. Let's take a look at a use case. This user is going to try to access the SSL VPN. When the agent prompts him, he's going to be asked for a couple pieces of information, including his user ID and then his PIN and his token code. The PIN being something that he knows and the token code being something that he has, making up two-factor authentication. The combination of the token seed record, proprietary algorithm, and system time, which exists both on the token and the server, produce a one-time password. So the only way that the user can access the SSL VPN is if the value from the token that he enters is what the server is expecting on the back end. So if we walk through this use case very quickly, when the user is challenged, he enters his secure ID credentials. Those are then passed by the agent back to Authentication Manager. Authentication Manager then verifies their credentials, and if he entered the token code properly, the user is granted access to the SSL VPN. That's really how the solution works. I hope you found this video useful.